More Than Words with Wendy Demonari.
Have you ever been speaking with someone and the conversation has taken a turn into the territory of too much information, or as the kids would say, TMI? It becomes awkward. I spoke with communications trainer Wendy Demonari and asked her to tell me about oversharing.
Well, have you ever overshared, or have you been in the presence of somebody who, and you think that's just a little bit too much information?
Yes. I didn't need to know that.
That's right.
Yes.
So look, I think we all do like to talk, and I'm not here to tell anybody, don't talk about yourself, don't share personal information. However, I do think we need to be a little bit aware that when we do, there are always consequences. There can be repercussions, and there can be some risks associated with oversharing.
Yeah, especially too, Wendy, in regional communities, even if you are in a bigger centre in regional Queensland, a lot of people know a lot of people, and it doesn't take very long for a message to get a long way.
That's true, yes.
So what are some of the dangers of oversharing?
Well, I think if you're oversharing, say, if it's in a professional situation, you can blur those lines between, your personal and your professional life. So that could possibly have an effect on your reputation. That applies as well if it's a personal thing too. So it could have an effect on your personal and your professional reputation. And certainly if you have a business, that's something to be aware of. So, it can affect people's perceptions of you. We all might like to think, okay, yes, we live in a democracy. I should be accepted for who I am, and that is true. But we need to be aware that, people have ideas. They might even have conscious and unconscious biases as well, which may come to the fore too. So judgments will be made.
Yes.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Very true. Is it a case of, read the room?
Absolutely. I think, look, that's the first thing you need to do. You usually know who you can share a lot of personal information with, and perhaps when you should, cut back. I think personal information, anything to do with, for example, your health, so quite intimate details about your medical, your health, your private life with your partner, your sex life, your political views, your finances. There used to be an old saying, you never discuss politics, religion and sex at the table. Well, obviously, things have changed and it is good to talk about stuff, but you do need to be aware that perhaps there are some lines in the sand that if you do cross them, because not everyone shares your views, and that could bring some issues, some problems as well.
It could create tension depending on the room you're in, whether it's perhaps at work or in a public setting.
That's right. Well, the other thing too is you're reading the room, but think about yourself. If you may be perhaps a little bit fragile and you start oversharing a lot of information, you could make your own sort of feelings and emotional state a little bit worse. So you need to be aware of how that's going to affect you by sharing sort of intimate and private and personal details about your life with other people.
Susan Graham-Ryan here for ABC Radio Queensland Mornings program. I'm speaking with communications trainer Wendy Demonari about oversharing. Wendy, what other things should we not share too much about?
Yes, I think anything that could reveal a lot about our identity. We've all heard so much about identity theft, and we're having to be very, very cautious about cybersecurity. We may think that we're sharing with people we trust, people we know, but they could then go on and share that information with other people who could share it with somebody else. And the next thing, there's 7 degrees of separation.
Exactly.
You've got a lot of people who you don't know sharing information about you out to the wider world. So things like your finances, banking details, anything that could link you personally to anything of value that you own or that you have.
Your first pet's name, things like that you might be asked in the security questions as well.
True. We've got to be careful, I think.
We do. So how do we stop oversharing then?
All right. So let's think about, firstly, defining your boundaries. Where are you? Are you in a personal, private space with friends, or are you at work? Is it happening in a public space? Think about, is what you're sharing, is it relevant to the conversation that's happening, to the world of work, to your business? So think about the relevancy and think twice. Is this really useful? Do people really need to know about it? Think a little bit about the consequences of sharing some perhaps maybe out there views. There could be consequences for you from a professional point of view or for your business. So be a little bit selective about that. As I said, gauge your audience, read the room, read the temperature of the room, and try to be a little bit aware of the other people's levels of comfort. Not everyone is going to have the same ideas and beliefs and attitudes that you might have, and you could be making other people feel extremely uncomfortable. So it's not all about you. It's also thinking about other people as well. Redirect that conversation. So when you think, oh gosh, maybe I have said too much, and you may be picking up some nonverbals from other people, perhaps you can just start redirecting that to sort of more neutral territory.
How's the weather?
Yes, that sort of thing. Practice a little bit of active listening, so you'll sort of get a feel for, if people are asking you questions and you're picking up from them on their active listening and their nonverbals, that they are actually quite open to what you're saying, then you can follow that. But if you start, getting feels from other people that this is making other people feel uncomfortable, then perhaps it might be time to redirect and think a little bit more about not giving away too much information.
Yes. Is there a polite way to say, oh, I don't think this is the right time and place, or something like that? Or is it best to just divert that attention, do you think?
Yeah, you can, if you know them very well, you can use humour. You can take something and from the conversation and divert it, so redirect it into something that's more neutral, I think. Don't need to make a big fuss of anything, but just a quiet sort of segue into some neutral territory is good, perhaps with a little bit of humour, a light touch. Yeah, yes. I think that's what you could do.
Wonderful. Thank you very much for sharing, Wendy.
No problem. Thank you.
Communications trainer Wendy Demonari from Work Ready NQ there.